Our viewer, I can't speak to this. Julie Kit says it's strange that Facebook doesn't have a DR disaster recovery site to be activated in all this time. I don't know what a disaster recovery site is. I have no idea what that is. I don't know what a disaster recovery site is. I have no idea what that is. Is there a simple article on it? A disaster recovery site, also known as a backup site, is a place that a company can temporarily relocate to following a security breach or natural disaster. So I don't know enough about all of this to say whether, maybe an expert would say, oh, given the problem they're having, that would affect the disaster recovery site too. I don't know. So I haven't seen any article where an expert said, wow, you'd think they would just have a disaster recovery site. So that's all I can say about that. If I hear experts commenting on that, I'll certainly let you know.
What is up, fanatics? It is Monday morning, and as everybody knows, I'm in Colorado, and it is 10:43 a.m. And this is a special news report for you. So, every day I go to check socials and that kind of stuff. But today, let me see. Here we go. Let me put this up like this. Today, uh, man, I went to just look at metrics on Facebook and Instagram and those kinds of things, and it was down, and I was absolutely shocked, right? So, let's talk a little bit about this and just give you an update for folks that don't know what's been going on at those platforms, and it's pretty rough stuff. So, let me find my links for you. All right, here we go. So this is all news that's been covered. So I don't have any special juicy insight into this stuff, but I've just been checking things out, right? Um, so if you don't know, there's a whistleblower, and her name is Frances Hagen. I'm not sure exactly how it's pronounced. I didn't see the 60 Minutes episode, but what happened is she released a lot of information about the platforms, and it was pretty damaging. I think there's been quite a bit of drop on stock price. So let's look at Facebook stock price. I think it was like 14%. So yeah, it's down to 323, and so Facebook stock price, I think it was like 14%. So yeah, it's down to 323, and let's look at 1 month ago. So it was over 380, and it's down to 323 right now. Over 380, and it's down to 323 right now. So that's a pretty 15% drop, which is significant for any stock, and that represents, I don't know, $1 billion or something, quite a bit of value. But she released the documents, and it's been just a whirlwind storm of badness for these platforms. And the documents outlined, I think, things that people had suspected in kind of knew that Facebook had whitelists where certain people could post whatever they wanted to, and the platform wasn't fair, so to speak, and everybody wasn't playing by the same rules. But there are also some things saying that Instagram is harmful to teenagers, which I've got a 12-year-old, and he has not been allowed to be on social media yet, and I am scared for what that future might look like for him, because man, it's a hard world out there on the socials, especially for kids and teens. So that I think we could all see how it would cause that kind of issue, but Instagram internally acknowledging that kind of thing is also kind of damning when that information comes out for them. Now let's see if we're still down. So this was go to Facebook, and this is what you get. And like I said, this is 1046, and things have been down for a little while now. Let me just validate that we're still down on Facebook. Yep, looks like we're still down there. Instagram still down there. And this was, I think I was trying Oculus because they are a Facebook company. Let's go to Oculus, and yeah, that's doing nothing. That's down. So all these Facebook properties are down now. What's interesting is that this is spawning off. I'm not even going to be able to count the number of conspiracy theories that this is spawning off, because it's a lot. Because if you think about it, Facebook, and as I understand it, is down everywhere. It's down here. It's down in Delhi. It's down in England. It's down in China if they can get through the firewall. It's down everywhere. This is one of the most traversed and viewed outside of Google, set of companies, web-based tech companies that exist, right? I mean, most everybody checks their Facebook, at least daily, right? And Instagram, and I use them a lot for the kind of stuff that I do as my side hustle, which is all of the home theater fanatics and all that kind of stuff. So for a platform that is global, and I work in IT, and this is my profession. This is what I've been doing professionally for over 20 years. They have a lot of resilience and redundancy built into their platform, right? This thing can go down in certain areas and be up in others. And I can't imagine what it would take to bring down this kind of network globally all at the same time. And that's making the assumption that it is down globally, but that's the information that I have right now. It would be a Herculean effort for it to go down like this somehow, because it's not like there's a server somewhere that serves up Facebook for the world. No, this is cloud-based everywhere. I mean, it's in data centers all over the world. And I can't imagine that a single administrator or someone internally would have that capability as well to be able to globally bring down the entire platform, along with Instagram, along with Oculus. And what's the impact on companies or websites that are authenticated by Facebook? When you go to a website and say, I want to log in, I want to use Facebook, I haven't checked that. So that all could be down too. StreamYard, which I usually use to stream, is not functioning right now. And I don't know if that's because they have a lot of hooks into Facebook. So maybe this is taking down ancillary websites as well, which is kind of scary. I mean, this is, for some folks, this is websites as well. A lot of hooks into Facebook. So maybe this is taking down ancillary websites as well, which is kind of scary. I mean, this is, for some folks, this is a really big deal. Other folks out there that don't deal with the socials are like, whatever, they got what they deserve, and that's probably true. But this one is a pretty big deal. I think, especially from a IT point of view, because it's very interesting that such a large monolithic company could go down for any reason whatsoever. So, like I said, that's spawning off the conspiracy theories. Everything from someone internally took them down to they dumped their site on purpose, and they're now rapidly throwing away evidence, or so, who knows, right? And that's all conspiracy theory stuff. And I probably shouldn't even say those things out loud. But this does come down to a an IT failure of epic proportions, right? For a site and a set of business tools and a business that has multiple layers of resilience on a global basis to be able to go down is mind-boggling. So when you go to your Facebook and stuff and you take a look and you're getting, oops, something is wrong or this page can't be found. Yeah, it's down. And so, on The Verge, it's interesting. So it looks like they said that, I think this is pronounced Antigone Davis, which is an awesome name. So Antigone, props, man. Your parents were killing it in the naming situation. That's really good. Was on CNBC, defending the company's policies. That's when things went down, and that was this morning. So it's got to be kind of tough to be on live talking, and they're like, "Oh, this just in, everything just went down." And Twitter's up, and they're like, "Ha ha!" But it's absolutely down. And then let's take a look at Down Detector. Let's see. Yeah, it started at 9:18. I assume that's Pacific or Mountain Time, which is where I'm at. So you can translate that into your stuff. But yeah, look at that. Nothing. This is what it's supposed to look like, right? Just a little bit of tiny stuff that might be regionally related. But then boom, 100,000 people have reported outages. What does the map look like? So it's being reported all over the U.S. I don't know if this will show a worldwide view. I can't zoom that or anything. Yeah. So anyway, that's what I wanted to bring out there. Let you guys know that you're not crazy. It is actually down, and this is probably a first for all of the properties associated with the company to be down. Follow the news to see what's up. Hopefully, it's not anything nefarious. Although it feels like a company of this size going down, something has to be going on, because this is not something that can just happen. All right, folks. Thanks for watching this special news report from Home Theater Fanatics live.
Speedy przedstawia. O, Miss Kratka Pratka. Красотата ви няма граници.
Щото съм европейка, пътувам зад граница ефтино и сигурно.
Here to break down the headlines, Nilay Patel is editor-in-chief of The Verge and a CNBC contributor. Delano Saporu is founder of New Street Advisors and also a CNBC contributor. So is Steve Grasso, who is also here, and he is also the CEO of Grasso Global. It is great to have everybody. What a day. Let's start with some of the biggest movers. Facebook is probably the sort of main one here, down 5.5%. They've got these reported outages for everything from Facebook to Instagram to WhatsApp. They've got last week's whistleblower revealing herself to be former... product manager for civic misinformation, saying the company is acting purely in self-interest. The company is still up 20% this year despite questions about its practices and social impact. So let's start with you, Steve Grasso. Is Facebook kind of the reason why the market is under so much pressure today? Is it just getting swept up in all of this? Is it just coincidental, I guess, that it's down this much? Or what do you make of, how would you relate its own problems to the problems the broader market is experiencing, if there is any relation?
Yeah, so it doesn't help, to your point, right, Kelly? And on the show, you cover the stories du jour, obviously better than anyone. And you notice that it's been about China, it's been about Chairman Powell, it's been about rising rates, it's been about the rotation out of growth into value. So this is the latest of the stories that are hitting the market. But if I look back on a chart and go back to the summer of 2020, Facebook was under a lot of pressure there as well, and that was bought. I do agree, I should say, with Jim Cramer that this time appears to be different. Having said that, I don't know how different this is going to be and when buyers will step in. But back then, the stock fell 20%. We're down from peak about 16% or so. Another couple of points.
Are you a buyer, Steve?
I wouldn't be a buyer just yet, but I'm just giving the viewers out there, 315 is your 200-day moving average. That gets you right in line with the sell-off that we saw in the summer/fall of 2020 if you were thinking about buying a dip in Facebook.
So that's certainly one line to watch. Delano, are you a buyer here?
Yeah, because I think, as mentioned by Steve, there's a lot of factors at play, and I think you should be a buyer here. As mentioned, this dip is about 15 to 60% off its highs. We looked at the bad news flow. We obviously know that there's going to be some more regulatory scrutiny and some legal risk that's at play here. But I'm looking at, if you pull back the chart, as mentioned, if you're looking at this as being one of the bigger and better mega market cap performing stocks this year, as well as the platform, right? As well as the family of products still growing at about 3 billion daily average users for their family of products. And also that whole macro level event of digital advertising, digital spend, that's still a great tailwind for Facebook here. And I still think that comes to play at some point. Buyers step in. So you probably want to be careful at what entry points you enter, but you should be looking for opportunities here, Kelly.
Nilay, let me phrase the question this way. Is there anything that regulators could do that would hurt Facebook without helping investors? In other words, most of the time, if they pursue more regulation, it helps Facebook. They're the biggest. They can comply the best. They can outdistance everybody. If they break them up, probably helps investors. They wouldn't mind, seeing Instagram. Thing that regulators.
But you should be looking for opportunities here, Kelly.
Nilay, let me phrase the question this way. Is there anything that regulators could do that would hurt Facebook without helping investors? In other words, most of the time, if they pursue more regulation, it helps Facebook. They're the biggest. They can comply the best. They can outdistance everybody. If they break them up, probably helps investors. They wouldn't mind, seeing Instagram. Most of the time, if they pursue more regulation, it helps Facebook. They're the biggest. They can comply the best. They can outdistance everybody. If they break them up, probably helps investors. They wouldn't mind, seeing Instagram separate from WhatsApp, separate from Facebook. Can regulators do anything to punish Facebook that won't actually help its long-run financial performance?
I think there's a lot regulators want to do. I think right now we are so exhausted by endless Facebook scandals that we might not be seeing this one for the scale that it has and the impact that it has. What you have with the whistleblower is Facebook's own research, Facebook's own employees saying this company is hurting people in X, Y, and Z ways, specific ways, with teen girls and body image issues, with radicalization. That stuff is cannon fodder for regulators. The whistleblower says she doesn't want Facebook to be broken up. She's obviously on the Hill tomorrow. Facebook itself says it wants regulations. I think it wants to capture the industry in that way. I think every regulator in this country has finally been handed a sheet of papers from Facebook itself that says this company is doing harm and it knows it. And I think it's gonna take a lot for Facebook to get through this in a way that doesn't result in a company being radically restructured, whether that's a breakup or whether that's a governance change, which I think a lot of people would like to see. Something is coming this time.
It seems to me, Delano, maybe the only two sources of pressure could be massive divestment on the ESG front, although again, if you look at the financial performance of Altria, not necessarily a bad thing, but maybe you could destroy the profitability by requiring them to have such a humongous content curation staff that it literally, the platform economics are no longer attractive. Does that make sense to you as an investor, and do you see that risk looming at all?
Yeah, that's certainly a risk. And I do agree with some sort of ESG front where Facebook is bringing to the forefront maybe a plan on how they're going to comply and how they're going to make the platform better. Because we know, as mentioned in the report, that a lot of the reports and a lot of the content that's being shared is driven on some non-factual information, on some harmful information. And so if they're bringing forth this and kind of getting in the forefront of it, this could be a good opportunity. And we want to see some governance changes that could potentially be strong for investors. And I think that'd be the best way to go as from an investor standpoint.
Why should you invest in stocks on eToro?
With eToro, I can invest in stocks with zero commission.
eToro's got a wide variety of global and local stocks. Buy in bulk or just a fraction. It's your choice.
If you're new to investing, you can train risk-free with $100,000.
Real. The blowback is real. It's different this time. I think that these documents, forget the actual whistleblower, the document's pretty devastating because precisely what she said. You either have to be a single source of truth these days or you go for power. They went for power. David, you know we haven't even talked as much as we should about Apple opt-in, opt-out.
Yes.
For the club, I've owned this thing for for about 200 and maybe, 300, almost 300 points.
Okay.
And I feel very uncertain. I feel that this time it's probably
You said this could be different.
This time's
and
different.
What we point out is that over time, we have sat at this desk many mornings, certainly during the course of the show, and discussed the latest criticism of Facebook, latest concern, latest focus of its critics, and yet the stock has obviously done nothing but more or less go up over a longer period of time, hitting as high as over $1 trillion market cap, though retreating recently, in part because their business continues to grow at a rapid rate. So your point now is that perhaps that will stop, that perhaps the advertisers are thinking differently?
That and Apple. And
right,
the new
which is
operating system.
the iOS, which you have to opt in.
Right.
And by the way, that's not just an issue for Facebook. That's an issue for any number of the apps that we all deal with every day that collect your information and obviously try to use it to help their business and or a center of their business.
Right. Now, Apple has chosen to be a single source of truth, as Mark Benioff says. They've been willing to say that's clearly not this opt. They don't want us to be able to get stuff that we don't want. Will the documents be used against Facebook? I think that if you are a major consumer products goods company, there'll be someone in the room at the board who will say, you know what, this is different. Now, look, I use Instagram for our restaurants. It's terrific. The small business stuff is terrific. I've been a somewhat defender the whole way, saying that, you know what, I didn't think their business would be hurt. Now, the documents indicate if you made major changes, would it matter? Everything always matters to make major changes. But you'd have to choose truth. And I look at those documents, and I don't think they chose truth. I think they chose obfuscation, and clearly they chose daily average users. I mean, I go through this with Twitter, where I say, listen, would you please take down the horrendous things that are said that I can't have my children possibly look at? And they will not do, they'll say, yeah, we'll take some down. But the first, they use a lot of First Amendment protection, and, you have every right. That bullying is a sensitive topic. Sensitive meaning that they won't take things down even though you're being bullied. So I'm looking, all of social media, as Dave and I were saying beforehand, could be really upended by what Apple's doing. And that is more important in some ways than what the documents showed. But look, let's just admit, there were more people who read that series and watched 60 Minutes than there's been any time that Facebook has been on the firing line. And, I mean, heads have to roll. I have to see serious heads rolling. I mean, people were involved. Now, look, I don't think that Mark Zuckerberg has to roll his head.
Well, although there is the idea that maybe his super voting shares are at risk, right? Maybe somebody comes in and says, look, let's rearrange the ownership structure where he does have more accountability. Is that possible?
Well, when you have the voting share, you have the voting share, so you need a vote in order to do that. So basically, he has complete control in perpetuity, which is important to point out because that wasn't always the case.
But this time's different. Advertisers.
Yeah.
Apple. I mean, I'm just saying that he needs to do something in order to be able to restore some faith here. Do you think faith was lost as I do?
What, that he would voluntarily give up voting control?
No, that he has to try to figure out a wholesale
and change his board?
Well, I just think that he has to say, listen, we've done wrong. How about this? How about something that I also wish that Carlos Watson had done? we've screwed up. This is bad. Our culture has to change. We have to start giving the resources that are necessary to this. Now, I don't think it's a total, David, I don't think it's a totally corrupt company. But that's a pretty low bar.
Yeah, that's.
Is that a low bar or what?
Well, just by saying that, I think you make the point.
No matter how we run, progress is always there. When we get faster, progress speeds up. When we get smarter, progress learns. When we get stronger, progress begins flexing its muscles. When we get new ideas, progress keeps up and takes us further than we've ever imagined. So you might as well take it for a ride.
Nichts geht mehr. Für Millionen Nutzer weltweit stehen Facebook, Instagram und WhatsApp seit heute Nachmittag nicht oder nur eingeschränkt zur Verfügung. Sie alle gehören zum Facebook-Konzern. Der twitterte eine Entschuldigung, man arbeite an der Entstörung. Ursachen für die Probleme wurden zunächst
Yeah, everyone. So Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp are currently down. This is just crazy. It's a major internet issue, I can say, because it's like the most popular social media in the world, and they're all down worldwide. This is just crazy. That's the first time it happens for all the three at the same time. And yeah, we're going to try to see a bit what's happening, you know. So when you go on Instagram website, it says 5xx server error. I don't really know what is that, but it's a server error, you know. But on Facebook, we can see this site cannot be reached. Check if there's a typo. There is obviously no typo. DNS perp fish NX domain. So I asked to one of my friends who's developers what it means, and it means the servers of Facebook are down, and they can like transfer the data to us, to the country, to, you know. Anyways, so on Twitter, we can see this is pretty crazy country too, and they can like transfer the data to us, to the country, to, you know. Anyways, so on Twitter, we can see this is pretty crazy because that's all in trending. You see Facebook down, Instagram down, WhatsApp, Telegram sign up. But yeah, anyways, they all made a tweet about that. We're aware that some people are experiencing issue with WhatsApp at the moment. We're working to get things back to normal, and we'd send an update as soon as possible. Thanks for your patience. Facebook also tweeted about that. We're aware that some people have trouble accessing our apps and products. We're working to get things back to normal as quick as possible, and we apologize for the inconvenience. And Instagram also tweeted, Instagrams and friends having a little bit of hard time right now, and you may be having some issue using them. Bear with us, we're on it. So all these tweets have been made like around an hour ago, you know, and WhatsApp say they will send an update, but nothing has been sent. So The Verge also made an article about that. Facebook is down along with Instagram, WhatsApp, Messenger, and Oculus. Just as Facebook, Anton Davis, yeah, we don't care about that. On Twitter, Facebook Communication says, we're aware that some people are having trouble accessing. Yeah, that's what we just read. A peek at Down Detector or your Twitter feed revealed the problem are widespread. While it's unclear exactly why the platform are unreachable for so many people, their DNS records show that. The problem is apparently DNS, yeah, DNS Cloudflare. Senior Vice President Dane Crench Not that Facebook border gateway protocol routes helps network pick the best paths to deliver traffic have been withdrawn from the internet. Yo, that's kind of crazy. Yeah, so here we see the tweet of Facebook. Instagram.com is flashing a 5xx server error message. That's what I just showed here. While Facebook site merely tells us that something wrong. The problem also appear to be affecting its virtual reality arm, Oculus. Oh yeah, Oculus. You know this thing. Yeah, you know this thing, the thing for the virtual reality, you know. So it seems to be down too. User can load a game they already have installed on the browser kit, but social feeder or installing new games do not. Yeah. The outage is certain enough that it's affecting workplace from Facebook customer and Facebook internal sites. So this is also affecting Facebook internal site. So that's kind of crazy, not gonna lie. Also, you might know that Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Oculus, they're all from the same group, you know, like this is the same company. There's no word yet from Facebook about what may be causing the problem or when those sites, including Messenger and WhatsApp, will be operational again, but we will update this article with more information when it's available. Yeah. So yeah, that's what they say. This is also an internal error, and it's from the DNS. Not gonna lie, I'm not surprised. That's from the DNS. That's always from the DNS. We also have this media independent, which is making a live updates about that. Why is Facebook broken? DNS could be the. Don't talk to me. Here's a very simple version of one of the problems that Facebook is having. Its domain name system or DNS is not working. That must be a symptom or might be because we should find out soon enough. But the reason that's when you type facebook.com in your browser, the computer is unable to have that converted into the actual data that makes up the Facebook website. Yeah. So if I had to resume, yeah, basically, since the server is down, the server are down, I mean, the information cannot be sent to us, and then it can't display the page properly. So, the outages can often point to a cyber attack, expert says. Oh, that's interesting. Questions are often asked about cyber attacks after an event like this, but while they can point in that way, that can also add to confusion. Yeah, obviously, a lot of people will say it's from a cyber attack, but that's maybe not. Like, we don't really know for now. Like, it's too early to say. That can also add to confusion. The former head digital of Fornes as Dorset Police and now cybersecurity as global. Yeah. So it's basically a cybersecurity expert. Outages are increasing in volume and can often point towards a cyber attack, but this can add to the confusion early when we are on diagnosing the cause. So yeah, this is what I basically just said. As we saw with Fastly in summer, I don't heard about that. Web blackout are more often originate from undiscovered software bug or even human error. Yeah, that's true though. This is more likely from internal errors actually. Anyways, Facebook employee take a snow day. Oh, not only are Facebook services and apps down for the public, its internal tools and communication platform, including Workspace, are out as well. Oh, no one can do any work. Several people I've talked to this say this is the equivalent to a snow day in the company. Yeah, so this is crazy. It means the internal tools and communication platform for Facebook employees and Instagram employees, etc., are not working. This is like really serious because it means they can't fix properly, like if the tools are not working and stuff. Like, they can't even work on the problem because their communication platform and tools are down also. Not gonna lie, I don't know what is it, but what if everything is down? I don't know, maybe it's a cyber attack actually. WhatsApp also says it is working to get things back to normal. An update from WhatsApp, Twitter means that, yeah, we read that already. Facebook outages can hit other services. Because Facebook provides services that are central too much for the internet, even site that do not appear to have anything to do with it. Yeah, that's true. A ton of websites use Facebook integrations. You know, they use part of Facebook code, if I can call that like this. This is kind of crazy, yeah. Outage like this can sometimes cause problem for other seemingly unrelated website. In July of last year, for instance, Spotify seemed to stop working, but the culprit was not actually Spotify itself, but instead a Facebook piece of technology that was embedded within the app. Yeah, that's what I was talking about, the integrations. Yeah, so it means other apps like Spotify and stuff can stop working. That's kind of crazy, like, yo, what the heck? Anyways, I think this is pretty much all. Why does Facebook keep going down? Yeah, don't really care. Yeah, so I think this is all. So yeah, maybe we can go on Twitter to see what's going on. Yeah, this is cool what they say. Having a good time being on. Yeah, that's true. Discord is not experiencing any issue. That's just Facebook group. Did Facebook said anything? Nope. WhatsApp maybe? Nope. Yeah, that's just crazy. Anyways, I think I'm going to leave you here. I'll make a detailed video probably the next week when all that will be gone. Like a really proper video with a lot of editing and stuff. Kind of same what I did for the Discord bot shutdown. So yeah, make sure to subscribe and share the video if people want to know what's happening. And yeah, see you next time, guys.
Rengar Ivan is a classic bot lane combo for low elo. It's known for its stupid power in lane and some crazy jump combos. But I have found two master tier players that climb together using only this strategy, turning it into a legitimately good bot lane combo that can compete with the meta. They started with this old idea and innovated, creating new strategies for laning phase and team fights that let them completely take over games. Not only is the strategy new, but so are the builds, completely changing how you usually play the champions. Oh, and also, neither of them take flash, because they just don't need it. Hold on a second, what is TF using to buy items with? It must be our sponsor for today, Ridge Wallet. I never knew he had one of those. Buying a Ridge Wallet is like finally upgrading your mythic item. Choosing your mythic item, you have loads of options, just like you have loads of colours and special designs to choose between. I got this titanium matte cobalt one, and I really love it. You can finally upgrade those old, cheap, bulky, unnecessary components into a single, easy to fit in your pocket wallet that holds up to 12 cards plus has room for cash. I really love the simplicity of the wallet. It's the perfect size and it's light so it doesn't weigh down your pocket. Also, it's really satisfying to get cards out of to pay for something. I'd honestly pay just for this sliding alone. Each wallet has a lifetime warranty, so this may be the only wallet you ever need to buy, as well as having a 45-day refund period if you're not 100% satisfied with your Ridge wallet. So it's a great opportunity to upgrade from that old one. If you go to ridge.com/TF, volg.com/chime, link in the description. Then you can use coupon code CHIME to get 10% off your order. Now back to our players. Volg, Zangief, and Polgo Master. Volg is a Somali player with a name inspired by his favourite anime, and he is the one who plays Rengar. In early Season 11, Volg decided he wanted to Zangief and Polgo Master. Volg is a Somali player with a name inspired by his favourite anime, and he is the one who plays Rengar. In early Season 11, Volg decided he wanted to try an off-meta strategy, and was inspired to try Rengar bot lane with Ivern. He needed a duo to play with, so he went on League of Graphs and scrolled through the Ivern list to find a player near his rank. He ended up finding one perfect player, that was Polgo, who accepted his friend request and listened to his idea. Hey, I'm a Rengar player and I'm looking for an Ivern to play with. With that message, Polgo says that he thought, oh cool, I play Ivern jungle. I guess he plays Rengar top, so it sounds like a fun combo to try out. According to Polgo, the Ivern, they got in lobby and the Rengar was already queued as AD carry, telling him to go support. Then the Rengar jokingly says, go exhaust heal. Ivern couldn't tell if he was serious or not, but he decided to listen and to try it out. So exhaust heal as AD carry, telling him to go support. Then the Rengar jokingly says, go exhaust heal. Ivern couldn't tell if he was serious or not, but he decided to listen and to try it out. So they get into their first ranked game. Neither of them have any experience playing bot lane with their champions. They don't know any of the matchups, and now they don't even have flashes. Surely the strategy couldn't work. But immediately their lane started going very well, getting some quick early double kills. They snowballed the rest of the game and won, so queued up again. Another win, and again another win. These two random players that had just met were now pushing towards a new peak rank. The summoner spells were their first strategy, but over time they invented new ones, slowly progressing up ranks with this completely off-meta strategy. In September, the duo finally hit Master Tier together. The coolest thing about this strategy is that neither of these players are mechanical gods. Neither of them are amazing at CS sync, and neither of them are really macro geniuses either. Their strategy is very simple. Two champions that work super well together, and two players that know exactly what the other one wants to do before they even do it. It sounds a bit complicated, but let me show you how easy it actually is. In lane at level 1, Rengar takes his Q and Ivern takes his shield. The duo play safe, with Rengar jumping in and out of bushes to get CS. Ivern stays back, playing safe, and uses shield on Rengar to make sure he isn't taking too much poke damage. At level 2, both players take their W. This is a huge power spike for the duo, and the strategy really begins here. Rengar tries to get W, the shield on Rengar to make sure he isn't taking too much poke damage. At level 2, both players take their W. This is a huge power spike for the duo, and the strategy really begins here. Rengar tries to get 3 stacks using minions, and then prepares to go for a kill. He moves into a side bush, and pings a minion for Ivern to look at. Rengar then jumps to that minion near the enemy AD carry. As this happens, Ivern is placing a bush down on this exact spot, so Rengar can then jump a second time right onto the enemy AD carry. No matter how far back the enemies are, they will get caught out by this play, and it doesn't stop with one bush. Ivern has 3 bushes to place, so he chain places them down to let Rengar keep jumping and stick on the enemy. If the enemy AD carry flashes away, all Rengar needs is another jump to follow them, and this is why the duo takes such weird summoner spells. No flashes, just barrier ignite on Rengar, heal exhaust on Ivern. With these 4 combat summoner spells, any 2v2 fight in lane is going to be a win. The enemies have 2 flashes, so they simply cannot outplay all these extra tools that Ivern and Rengar get. Ignite exhaust goes on the enemy AD carry, making sure they cannot heal to survive and also cannot return any damage to hurt Rengar. Barrier, heal, make sure that even in a close fight, Rengar can stay in range to DPS, baiting enemies in and popping it at the last second to survive, collecting a double kill. Normally, Rengar's biggest problem is his lack of mobility. He needs bushes to really be a champion. With an Ivern next to him all the time, his biggest weakness is removed, leaving only a high damage assassin, who now also has combat summoners, and a low cooldown shield from Ivern that makes him impossible to kill. All the time, his biggest mobility. He needs bushes to really be a champion. With an Ivern next to him all the time, his biggest at the last second to survive. Rengar can stay in range to DPS, baiting enemies in and popping it at the last second to survive, collecting a double kill. Normally, Rengar's biggest problem is his lack of mobility. He needs bushes to really be be a champion, with an Ivern big enemies in and popping it at the last second to survive, collecting a double kill. Normally, Rengar's biggest problem is his lack of mobility. He needs bushes to really be a champion. With an Ivern next to him all the time, his biggest weakness is removed, leaving only a high damage assassin, who now also has combat summoners, and a low cooldown shield from Ivern. With an Ivern next to him all the time, his biggest weakness is removed, leaving only a high damage assassin, who now also has combat summoners, and a low cooldown shield from Ivern that makes him impossible to kill. Ivern Q also works great with Rengar, giving him yet another dash to get into melee range. In the rare situation that enemies play really far back away from the wave and avoid the fight, this duo roam up to take the crab, happy to fight the enemy jungler if they find him, otherwise just getting free gold. At any point, if the enemy bot lane refuse to fight them, they can just go for these roam plays, because they will always have priority. From then on, the duo can even be strong enough to win 2 versus 3 and turn ganks. The extra summoner spells basically give them extra abilities in fights. So Rengar can use 4 of his basic abilities, an empowered ability, loads of jumps, and now also a barrier ignite. He always has an option he can go for in a fight, he's never stuck, so the skill cap can be quite high. According to this duo, there are pretty much no bad matchups for this combo. The usual Rengar counter is CC, but for bot lane, Rengar has his cleanse on his W, and that's usually enough for them to get past the CC. So for example, against a Thresh, he can just jump into the hook, cleanse it, and then keep going for the kill. At level 6, Rengar gets ult, and is able to use it mainly as an extra jump to engage in lane. If enemies overstay, or walk up too far, they're already dead. He just runs straight in, followed by Ivern, and jumps straight onto enemies. Ivern's ult, Daisy, is especially good for diving, even if you don't have a wave. Ivern walks in with Daisy to tank tower shots, placing bushes for Rengar to chase the enemy down. If the enemy AD carry is left alone against this combo, they are dead. And that's pretty great for a roaming support meta like we have at the moment. The main win condition this duo goes for every game is Dragon. Since they're playing 2 jungle champions, they can often even do it alone, when both of the junglers are topside. They don't really take any damage from it, and the enemy bot lane will be way too terrified to walk up and stop you. The funny thing about these 2 players is that they've played hundreds of games together, but they've never even used voice comms. This strategy works because each player just knows how their champion should be played. Rengar wants to deal damage and stay near Ivern to get more jumps. Ivern wants to shield Rengar to keep him alive, and give him bushes so he has lots of options. They're the perfect couple to go together, and they don't ever leave each other alone. When they're roaming, they roam together. When they're in lane, they stay together. If they split up, they lose their power, and one of them's going to get tower dived. In mid-game, they keep focusing on dragons, keep focusing on that win condition, they can fight around the dragon, but they need to make sure they are never alone. Whenever Rengar is going for a play, Ivern is waiting right next to him, ready to give him a shield and help him win the fight. Together, they're much stronger because both of their builds are specific so they work well together. These players have made custom builds to fit their style. Rengar is not building like a full lethality assassin, he instead is building like a bruiser, with Gore Drinker as one of his items. He's focused on survivability, to extend fights rather than going for one-shots. So then, when they get to team fights, Rengar Ivern is such a fun style. Pretty much, the more Rengar is able to jump around, the more likely you are to win a fight. The fights are all about Rengar jumping everywhere around the fight using bushes. Early in the fight, Ivern should try and set up all of his bushes so Rengar can use them for mobility. Ivern then needs to get to a safe spot to support him for the rest of the fight. Rengar can then use the pre-existing bushes on the map, and the 3 new ones Ivern has placed, to jump around the enemy team with a tanky bruiser build. He's also constantly getting shields, so he's healing from Gore Drinker and getting a 250 health shield every 5 seconds. This build is hilarious to play. The longer the fight, the more value Ivern provides, and the better Rengar is thanks to his mobility. His jumps and the healing never run out, so they can just outlast enemies. Instead of it being an assassin, it reminds me a lot of Tank Rengar from Worlds last year, where your goal is to draw a lot of attention and jump around so you can't be caught. But now with this combo, you don't have to build the tank yourself, Ivern gives it to you, so you also have have damage from your build. They try to start fights in an area with lots of bushes, for example in this dragon choke point. Thanks to Ivern, you can fight anywhere on the map. It's not as bad as Rengar by himself, because he can set up bushes even in the center of mid lane to make it a playable fight. With this strategy, Rengar gets all of the credit since he is the one doing all of the plays. But without the Ivern, he would not be able to survive these fights. He would not be mobile enough to do what he does, and this strategy would not work. Both of them are vital, and that is why this strategy is so nice. It's quite easy to get started with this strategy because it's like you're both playing a single champion. All you need to do is have a little bit of synergy. So when you're in a fight like this, Rengar looks like he's 1v9 jumping into enemies over and over again, but the hidden part is that Ivern has given him 1500 HP in shields, and that doesn't even include any of the healing from his items either. In late game fights, Rengar becomes unkillable, and if you're ahead, a 2 versus 5 is not impossible thanks to Ivern's healing. It's quite similar to playing Lulu Kog'Maw. If they both position correctly and can help each other, the carry's gonna have enough damage to kill everyone, and the support is gonna have enough shielding to keep the carry alive. Every game, the duo ban Lulu and Seraphine. These champions are great at shutting down aggression, so they're great ones to get rid of. Their builds really fit so well together. Rengar starts Doran's Blade with first item Gore Drinker, buying plated steel caps against AD and Mercury Treads against CC. His next item is Steraks, then Death's Dance, both for survivability to keep extending fights. Finishing the build with Black Cleaver against tanks, Spirit Visage versus heavy AP, otherwise he buys Guardian Angel. It's a very simple build, all about staying alive, but Ivern's is a bit different. He starts Spell Thieves every game. The first thing he buys is 3 Fairy Charms to give him extra mana, and also boots. His boots should always be Lucidity boots for cooldown reduction so he can spam more shields. Dark Seal is good if you're winning lane and have extra gold. Ivern with this style shouldn't be the one dying if he's playing properly, so it can be great value to buy early on. For his mythic, he has a choice. Moonstone is best against a strong enemy frontline that Rengar needs to tank and survive against. But if they're against a team without a frontline, instead just with high damage squishy champions, Ivern goes Shurelya's to help Rengar reach them. From there, against assassins or burst champions, Ivern gets Zhonya's. Against a strong frontline, he gets Redemption. If the enemy has a ton of healing, Chemtech Purify is great. He often gets all of these items as they're just so good on Ivern. The order you buy them is the only thing that matters. Here are their rune pages. Of course, Rengar's taking Conqueror and runes that help him do well in long fights. Ivern prefers this Summon Airy page, since it gives a bit of extra damage, which is great in early fights. Both of these players have Twitch streams, so please check them out at the links in the description. Thanks again as well to Ridge for sponsoring this video. Link below for them. As always, thanks so much for watching. Mordekaiser is the ultimate 1v1 champion, who pretends he is playing fair, but really he's... Lucian has to go for a kill, and he knows it. If Lucian ever walks up too far, or takes tower aggro, he knows he is dead. Using Master Yi Q to outplay even Korean master players, he avoids the damage, and can even get a solo. There is Shen ever walks up too far or takes tower aggro, he knows he is dead. Using Master Yi Q to outplay even Korean master players, he avoids the damage and can even get a solo kill here. There is no way to poke Yi out of lane. If enemies try, they waste their mana and cooldowns. If they don't try, they will be giving you free CS. He fatigues the enemy and gives them no hope of winning the lane. At level 4, he takes his E and he continues the playstyle. He can play a bit further up at this point. All he needs to watch out for are ganks. If enemies are not making big mistakes, he is just collecting the wave and building up his advantage. Think of it very much like a Kassadin. He wants to get to level 6 without dying, then get some items and start carrying later on. Master Yi is just like that, except he comes online much sooner. By level 6, in an ideal world, Hyun-hee has managed to push his way forwards and roam to get a kill, but in a normal game, you should just hope to have no deaths. This means the plan is working. At level 6, this is his key to early game power. He can now base to buy Noon Quiver, and he is already power spiking. Now, he tries to play like a second jungler for his team, roaming around the map, going for dives, not just sitting in mid lane. This is very common in high elo Korea for mid laners. Roaming will always be the most effective solo queue style, apparently even on a scaling champion like Yi. His motto for this point is, get fed at all costs. If he can die for a kill, he always takes it at this point, to get his snowballing started. An early kill or two on Yi is worth way more than any other champion. He wants to be trading these kills, and stealing ones from his team. You are trying to push yourself forwards, and hold others back. It is vital on Yi more than any other champion. If you are behind, you can become useless. If you're ahead, you become a god. But of course, it's not as simple as just go get some kills. Hyun-hee has a few genius ways to ensure they work. His first item mid is always Gale Force. This item has so many uses on Yi, but at this point it is a key tool to get him snowballing. The dash from Gale Force can be used to jump straight on low HP enemies, ensure they're dying to a useful member of your team. He is not afraid to see a low HP enemy and Gale Force right onto them, stealing the kill. Even at early levels, this will be doing a minimum of 200 to 250 damage by itself, and so it can give you the extra early game power you need to even start winning early fights. Yi is not meant to have this much power early game, and with the dash included, it makes him broken. Gale Force remains broken for the rest of the game. It gives Yi a repositioning tool to avoid his worst enemy, CC, mostly helping him gap close and use Q to dive squishy champions. When you're playing Yi with this item, you feel like it's unfair. You can close any gap, reach any enemy, and do things on Yi that should not be possible. Imagine how awful that feels to play against. And not only that, you are a Yi mid. Imagine how tilting it would be to start losing to. If you're ahead as Yi, the game is close to over. If you're ahead as a Yi mid, they might even just FF from the tilt. From here, we're in mid-game. Hyun-hee goes to a slide lane and looks for plays from Fog of War. If enemies were not tilted enough to FF yet, they will be after this. He gets control wards and a sweeper, pushing his side wave, then going to wait in the jungle for his prey. If an enemy walks anywhere near the bush, he is happy to flash, Gale Force, and Q onto them to secure a kill. If you're wasting everything to get a kill, it is so worth it. If you're ahead, keep looking for more and more advantages. If you're behind, keep looking for enemy mistakes, or overextensions that you alone can punish. In mid-game, you don't really want a team fight, as you have not reached your full power yet, but he can still join them if needed. In early fights, he knows exactly who his targets are, and exactly who he cannot kill yet. Here he is in a split fight with a Yuumi on him. Even still, he wastes all of his cooldowns to get as far away from an Olaf as possible, because he knows he does not win the fight against the Olaf. Instead, refocusing on the enemy backline to pick up some easy kills, and then turning back to the front line with his team to finish off the fight. In bigger team fights, you will not find a more patient player than Hyun-hee. It is surprising he is not playing Lee Sin with the amount of monk-like focus and restraint he has on this champion. This is necessary, and makes the difference between a won fight and a lost fight. No matter your score, you could be 20-0, go in at a bad time, get CC locked, die, and begin to lose the game. You could also be 0-3 going into a fight. But in both situations, there is a way you leave the fight with a pentakill, and a different way you don't even get to leave the fight because you died before doing anything. Hyun-hee recommends clearing your mind of all your past games before you start a new one. Immediately in loading screen, he is considering all of the enemy champions and what skills matter to him. If he sees an enemy Nidalee with no CC, he knows there is a free kill and he doesn't need to worry about her. If he sees an enemy Orianna, he knows the shockwave can destroy him in a fight and he takes note. This is different for every champion, but is super important. In fights, once he picks his moment, he Gale Forces forwards, picking his priority target. If he has to Q to gap close, he does. Otherwise, flashing in and starting to auto-attack works, using Q instead to dodge any of your chosen counters, for example the Orianna shockwave. This is for sure the actual hardest part of the game game to navigate on Yi, so Hyunhee has broken it down as simple as possible for you. The best fight you can take is one where you take isolated 1v1s with an enemy, one at a time, or be killing them one by one with your team. You can focus on one threat at a time, killing one first, onto the next, and so on, until the fight ends. This is the way pentakills happen, and you should try to bait enemies into this fight, or commit hard as soon as possible if you see a catch, to ensure that the fight happens like this. If instead, enemies are all grouped up as 5, the fight gets very hard to win. Your only options are waiting for enemies to use their key CC abilities on your team, then trying to go in without using your Q for gap close, as you should be saving it to dodge an ability. From there, Hyunhee has Cleanse, so he can set it up to be used on a CC after he uses his Q, trying to burst enemy members as soon as possible, and using the cooldown reduction resets you get from your ultimate after you get a kill. If you're going in first, you're probably doing it wrong. If you're not focusing the enemy AD carry, or any squishy carry they have, first, trying to pop them, again, you are probably doing it wrong. In some situations where the enemy damage dealers are zoned off, you can focus tanks down first, but Yi is more of a burster with this build, not a tank shredder, like he would be with a Rageblade build. Oh, and if you want to see if this playstyle really works, I am playing it right now on stream in high elo. Come watch, and I'll prove that anyone can climb with these strategies. Each game, Hyunhee bans Akali. This is a matchup where you can be poked out for free all laning phase, with Akali never running out of mana since she doesn't have any. She's also very safe and hard to punish with her E and W. He Qs mid and top. If he gets top, then he swaps with his top laner so he can play mid. Top is not and getting possessed. Using the cooldown reduction reset, saving C abilities on your very to ensure that the fight happens like this. If instead, enemies are all grouped up as 5, the fight gets very hard to win. Your only options are waiting for enemies to use their key CC abilities on your team, then trying to go in without using your Q for gap close, as you should be saving it to dodge an ability. From there, Hyunhee has Cleanse, so he can set it up to be used on a CC after he uses his Q, trying to burst enemy members as soon as possible, and using the cooldown reduction resets you get from your ultimate after you get a kill. If you're going in first, you're probably doing it wrong. If you're not focusing the enemy AD carry, or any squishy carry they have, first, trying to pop them, again, you are probably doing it wrong. In some situations where the enemy damage dealers are zoned off, you can focus tanks down first, but Yi is more of a burster with this build, not a first, trying to pop them, again, you are probably doing it wrong. In some situations where the enemy damage dealers are zoned off, you can focus tanks down first, but Yi is more of a burster with this build, not a tank shredder, like he would be with a Rageblade build. Oh, and if you want to see if this playstyle really works, I am playing it right now on stream in high elo. Come watch, and I'll prove that anyone can climb with these strategies. Each game, Hyunhee bans Akali. This is a matchup where you can be poked out for free all laning phase, with Akali never running out of mana since she doesn't have any. She's also very safe and hard to punish with her E and W. He Qs mid and top. If he gets top, then he swaps with his top laner so he can play mid. Top is not a place you want to take Yi. He cannot do much against most of the champions there. They specialize in the long lane and he has no escapes to deal with it. For summoners, he takes Exhaust most games. This gives him a lot of early game safety, as well as being able to turn a 1v2 fight into a short 1v1 where he can burst someone down, then turn on the other champ who was exhausted, pretty much taking 2 different fights one after another. He takes no escapes to deal with. He uses mid and top. If he gets top, then he swaps with his top laner so he can play mid. Top is not a place you want to take Q's mid and top since she doesn't have any. She's also very safe and hard to punish with phase, with Akali never running out of mana since she doesn't have any. She's also very safe and hard to punish with her E and W. He Q's mid and top. If he gets top, then he swaps with his top laner so he can play mid. Top is not a place you want to take Yi. He cannot do much against most of the champions there. They